Okay, I know I'm not.
I'll get you on.
Okay. Okay. So much for that moment of peace.
Yes.
Anyway, but you know, it's so nice if if we can just take a moment every now and then and to recognize that we're okay in this moment. You know, we're okay. We're alive. We made a commitment to show up here, you know, whatever events that we have the freedom to do that. You know, in this moment, you know, things are okay. And feel how fortunate that is, how wonderful that is. That amidst all the stuff that goes on all the time for our own lives, others' lives, everybody's lives, you know, we do have these moments that are fine. Everything's okay. And we don't often let our hearts open to that, to really be aware of this moment's okay. You may have loved ones. How wonderful that is. Not everybody has loved ones, but most of us do. Perhaps you have food at home. How wonderful that is. How lucky we are. Perhaps you have a job, an income. Perhaps you have the opportunity to help others. You know, so just let that kind of in. These are all fortunate conditions. How wonderful that is.
Recording in progress.
Sacred about the action. Community of practice, the Sangha. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
I'm
I'll
sorry,
do this out.
Venerable Son.
That's all right.
My technical skills with the feedback.
So have you turned them on?
Yes.
Oh. Is it okay? This is always a challenge. Used to be so easy. And then you get older. And I never was coordinated.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. If you want to mirror your screen on the TV, we can do that now.
Or not.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm gonna leave that totally up to you.
We're going to skip that stage. All right, because I'm not muted. Can you guys at home hear me?
Yes,
It's so
I
good to
see you now.
Hi, Lou. Hi, John. Hi, Peggy. Hi, Esther. Hi, Cecilia. Got my heart. So, all right. So, well, it's such an exciting, it only took us 5 minutes to get started. So that's not too shabby considering our skill level. So, ooh. Everybody comfortable with me not wearing a mask while I teach? Okay, cool. All right. I'm not seated properly. I'm going to fall backwards if I keep sitting like this. Sorry. I have to move the cushion back. Technical difficulty everywhere. All right. So let's just take a moment to find that equilibrium of space, just, oh, I'm here, I'm sitting, I'm comfortable or not. Find your breath. Allow yourself to breathe in and out easily. And take a moment to check in your mind and your heart. What state are you in? Allow yourself permission to be present for this activity. You made a choice to be here for this class. So we can let go of the other things that are on our schedule today, or other things we could have done instead. But instead, just give ourselves permission to just be here. Letting go of the past and the future. For those of us who identify as Buddhist, we're going to recite the Refuge Prayer. It's on page 98. There's one more. And so the idea behind the Refuge Prayer is to remind us that we have a source of teachings. We have a source to go to figure out how to best cultivate the causes of happiness and to abandon the causes of suffering. And we do this not just for ourselves, but also so that we can help others in this way. So we recite this prayer 3 times. We go for refuge until we're enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits we create through listening to the Dharma, may we become Buddhas in order to benefit all sentient beings. We go for refuge until we're enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits we create through listening to the Dharma, may we become Buddhas in order to benefit all sentient beings. We go for refuge until we're enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits we create through listening to the Dharma, may we become Buddhas in order to benefit all sentient beings. So keeping with that mind that wants to benefit others, we'll recite the Four Measurables. That's on page 34. So this is just an expression of what we wish for ourselves and others. So keep in mind that at this very moment, we are surrounded by sentient beings. Sentient means living beings. You know, and if, you know, the world wasn't round, if it was flat, we'd be just stretching out. There'd be beings, all the insects, all the animals, all the, you know, butterflies, you know, just stretching out to countless. We wouldn't be able to count them when you think about all the fish in the ocean, you know. So we're surrounded by all these living beings, and we really want to develop a habit of bringing them to our heart, you know, to just really think about. It's not just that I want to be happy or that I want my friends to be happy. I'd love everybody to be happy. You know? So the first is about love. This is the definition of love in Buddhism. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. So we're sharing with them the mind of love, just like we feel for our children, or our partners, or our friends. And the next is compassion. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. So when your child is sick, your partner is sick, or your friend is sick, that wish that it would end for them, that the suffering would just stop, and that you could comfort them, that you could take that suffering away. How wonderful that would be. Next is the immeasurable mind of joy. This ability that we can feel happy when others are happy, that we can, you know, we don't have to have a happiness for ourselves to feel that joy, you know. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. And last is the mind of equanimity, where we really try our best to not discriminate between people we like and people we don't like, animals we like, animals we don't like. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Okay, enough about others. So how are y'all doing? I'm kidding, sort of kidding. So I think the topic today is happiness within. Is that correct? Okay. I forgot my notes. I was sitting by my bed, in fact. I can see the piece of paper. Yeah, okay. I'm always good at that. Okay, so happiness within. Is that even important? Why would it be important? The world's a mess. Why should we have a happiness within? Yes?
You can carry it with you wherever you go.
Okay. Can you scream in your mask?
Then you can carry with you wherever you go.
You can carry this happiness with you wherever you go. What's different about us when we're happy? Who cares if we can carry it with us wherever we go? We're more compassionate when we're happy. Yes, Graciela.
People want to be around us when we're happy.
People want to be around us. That's for sure. You know,
You can bring that to others.
and you can bring it to others. We're able to listen to others more when we're not caught up in our own struggles, when we're not dwelling in our misery. You know. So what does inner happiness mean? Because it's like never, our lives are never perfect, right? It's never that everything's going exactly right. There's always something to worry about. If we try hard enough, we can find it. Most of us don't have to try hard at all. So what is this inner happiness? What does it really mean? Acceptance. Acceptance of what?
Situation that you have surrounding you.
Acceptance of what? What was that word? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. I'm not good with sound.
Yes, acceptance of the situations that you have surrounding you.
Yeah, acceptance of the situations we have surrounding us. Why is that helpful to happiness? What's one of the first things that comes up to our minds when something goes wrong? I'm sorry?
To fix it.
To fix it. What maybe precedes that?
We become angry, we become frustrated, and we, build up negative karma in the future for ourselves and spread it around to other people.
So Marianne has a complete picture. We get angry, and we get frustrated, and we start spreading it around. Does anybody ever think, why? Why is this happening at this moment? This is a very inconvenient time for things not to go right. Why can't the, computer and everything be set up before I get here? Why doesn't it work? Why can't we remember from one week to the next how to work it? Why me? Yes.
It's a teachable moment.
It's a teachable moment. Everything, absolutely. And that's part of what inner happiness is about. It helps us stay open instead of closing down with frustration and anger or why me, feeling sorry for ourselves. Who cares? So what if we feel sorry for ourselves? What does that interfere with? Do you enjoy feeling sorry for yourself? Is it a pleasant experience?
It just exacerbates all of our, makes it bigger and bigger, and we ruminate and never ends.
So that rumination, we can keep it, we can make our suffering go on all day, can't we? So it's now not just that you come out and you have a flat tire. And so you're going to be late to work or late to the gym or late to the, to here or late to the party. You can continue with all the ways in which this is maddening and still be talking about it whenever you get to wherever it was you were going in the first place. Does it feel good to do that? Yes.
It could be a redirection.
Or non-movement at all. That's the thing. When we keep that, oh no, this has gone wrong mind in our head, we are prolonging that moment. And even if we get it fixed, it gets taken care of, then we carry it with us. And we tell everybody we know what happened. And we can turn it into a funny story because, that keeps the attention on us. So we turn this kind of inconvenience into, please look at me.
I've had a hard day. What are we seeking then?
Sympathy.
Why? What are we trying to do in that effort? These are my vague questions that everybody just loves. Camaraderie. We want connection. We're trying to connect. That's very hard to do when we shut down with anger. They're kind of contrary. You know, we don't realize it. We can hook someone else's anger with our anger. Either they just get angry or they remember a time when, oh, yes, when I had a flat tire, blah, 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 blah. And so they brought back to another moment of just, you know, of angst. Is that the kind of connection we really need? Is it an effective strategy? It works a little bit, doesn't it? But usually only with the people we've already connected with, you know, like our friends. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. You know? So we don't actually need to bring the negative stuff with us to connect. We've already got a connection. So it is about, you know, like somebody earlier said, other people want to be around us if we have inner happiness. I think that's one of the things that His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, has. You know, there's just something about when, you know, his presence that just feels relaxed. It's just like, oh, this guy can roll with anything that's happening, you know. Of course, that's because we're not seeing him in you know, peace talks with the Chinese or something. I mean, you know, so we're just seeing him, although I think he's like that all the time, and he no longer has to do that kind of thing since he's no longer a head of state. Yay, I'm sure he's thrilled. So, but that there's something about that ability to be present and open to this moment and not carrying the baggage of the moment before or last year, you know, that is, you know, that embraces others. You know, it's kind of a nice thing to experience. Yes, Graziella, she's a neon sign.
I have a problem.
You have a problem.
Yeah.
Are you
I'm
alone?
gonna just, you know,
Yes, please.
And I never thought what you just said about connection. I just so helpful. But so I am stuck
Yeah.
where just complaining and, you know, and so what's a better way to seek connection when I am suffering?
Okay. I'm not going to give you solutions right away because I'm just difficult.
Putting it out.
Yes, because we will go there. Maybe not today, maybe next week. You know, we have to have some reason for you to come twice. So,
Good strategy.
yes, you know. Okay, but what we want, so what we're looking at the moment is trying to kind of get in our minds a sense of, do you need a cushion under your feet? Would it be more comfortable if you had one? I can't touch the ground when I'm sitting in those chairs, and I find it just dangles. And so I'm just aware that you might be dangling. I didn't- Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else?
Oh, thank you so much. Wow, much
So,
better.
yeah, so much better. You know, and it's everywhere. You go to the symphony and your feet don't touch the ground. You go and you're on a plane, your feet don't touch the ground. Of course, they can touch, your knees are touching the seat behind, you know, in front of you. But anyway, okay. So we want to make a distinction between the kind of happiness we have when we are enjoying a wonderful meal, you know, that, oh, just what I wanted, you know, that first moment of just like, oh, delight, you know, the food finally arrives in the restaurant or something, you know, and you're kind of delighted. Or you know, you put on a dress and you go, wow, I look great in this, that feeling of, oh, this is nice, I don't know what men do, but, so that kind of, just momentary happiness we have with sensory delights. We like something that we're looking at. We like something that we're tasting. We like something on the touch, something that's soft. We like things that smell good. We like things that, what's the other one? Sound good. I have terrible sound, so I don't experience that much. So, but music or whatever, the sound of children laughing, I love that sound. So so we're not talking about that experience that sort of reflects, this physical experience of the body or the mind, that kind of thing that happens all the time, which is great news. And we want to notice them, but inner happiness we're not talking about that. Inner happiness is more a quality of, you started out with acceptance of what's going on. I'm pointing to Hernan. So, it's to me, like I would use the word confidence, that whatever's going on, okay, I can deal with it. Now, that's not always true, is it? I mean, sometimes things go on and you go, oh, I can't deal with this. But the point is that, if we can kind of start to develop this sense of inner peace that, okay, I can accept what's going on. I don't have to just be on guard all the time to try to control what's going on around me, but I can just be and be okay with whatever's going on. That doesn't mean that it necessarily will feel good. It doesn't mean that it'll necessarily be pleasant or comfortable or that you'll have an answer. It just means it doesn't throw you. You're not going from moment to moment, sort of in a crisis mind. Or I've read some article recently that used the phrase fear body. The fear body hasn't arisen, that it's developing a quality of, okay, this is what it is. And we're okay. And we feel confident we'll be okay. It may not turn out like we want at all. I mean, His Holiness, things did not turn out like he wanted at all. They asked for help from the Americans when the Chinese first invaded their country and occupied it, and they didn't get it. They got some help, but they didn't get enough help. Finally accepted that he had to go into exile or his life would be in danger. Then he had to develop this whole new community in India. He lost out, lots of what do you call it? Not by choice, like refugees now, got sick due to the climate and died. But you still see this sense of, self-possession, just, okay. That comes from that place of inner happiness or peace or inner, however you want to look at it. That's what we're talking about here. And there's a happiness to that. The happiness of that confidence of knowing that you can make it through, that this is temporary and permanent. Now, it may not be temporary in the sense that, like His Holiness has never been able to go back to Tibet. So that aspect of his situation, you could call permanent. So what did he do? Anybody, I mean, we've read some books by His Holiness. What does he talk about a lot about, his move to the West?
Talks a lot about remaining hopeful.
He remains hopeful. Yes. He also talks about all these great things, that he's been able to bring Buddhism to the West, he's made friends in the West. He started these mind life conferences things and just dialogues with scientists and neurophysicists, all these, people who think more complicatedly than I do. So, or maybe more simply, but, so he's looked at what's good about this situation, this change. And that can't be easy to do. I mean, it's not like, oh, well, forget my troubles and just look at what's good, is it? You have to work at it. You have to look for it. You have to remember to look for it. And that's not something you do just in the moment. When you walk out of your house and your car tire is flat, that's not the moment you start to practice this. That's the moment you see the result of your previous practice. So if you haven't practiced anything, whatever your habit energy is, you just follow that. Some people don't get bothered by such things, they probably practiced in previous lives. So, but it's a habit of mind, how we respond to things. And if we feel like we can't handle anything, then we're constantly faced with things that we think are really going to harm us. And so when that fear of the harm arises, what are the kinds of actions we might take? This gets back to what Mary Ann was saying earlier. You get angry, frustrated. What are we doing there? How is it, do you think we actually feel? If if we don't have the confidence we can handle something.
We feel vulnerable.
We feel vulnerable. And instead of accepting the reality, in fact, we are vulnerable. We cover it up with something that feels more powerful, like anger or blame. Not my fault. These idiots would get their act together. I wouldn't have to be dealing with this. This is like a big door slamming on the universe. It closes our heart. If we can stay in touch with the feeling of vulnerability that arises and go, wow, people just like me do this all the time. And keep our hearts soft and open, tender, so that compassion for ourselves can arise. Oh, yes, isn't it sad this happened today, right at this moment when I was on my way to catch the plane and I'm going to miss the plane and da 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 da. Just accepting, the sadness that things don't go right, or that we don't know, or that we can be hurt. Because this actually connects us with all sentient beings. Everybody is like this. Everybody's vulnerable. Animals are vulnerable. Fish are vulnerable. Insects are vulnerable. We're all vulnerable. That's part of what, being a sentient being means. We have a mind or heart, same word. But if we can develop that inner confidence or inner peace, or that persistent belief that, okay, whatever it is, I've handled worse, whatever it is, I can deal with this. It's not a catastrophe. So that's one aspect of working with developing inner happiness, is being able to stay vulnerable and realize it doesn't kill you. The feeling of vulnerability doesn't kill you. A soldier can kill you, but that's separate from the feeling of vulnerability. The feeling of vulnerability itself doesn't kill us. Slamming the door on others doesn't protect us. Learning how to connect might save us all. You know, it's that, you know, instead of dividing ourselves into groups and enemies and friends and helpful people and unhelpful people, you know. So the more we can keep our hearts open, recognizing none of us have an answer to climate change. None of us have an answer to stopping invading armies. None of us have an answer. You know. But working individually hasn't worked, has it? You know, all this divide and conquer, you end up with just conquered people, you know. So this, you know, there's a real potential power in staying connected. So like with this, what's the light that we can see with this invasion into Ukraine? What can we rejoice in? I've shifted gears, haven't I? Sorry, it's all in my head. Can't you keep up? It's
All the people who are trying to help.
all the people who are trying to help, all the people who met people at train stations, at airports saying, if you don't have a place to stay, come into my house. People trying to get supplies into Ukraine. How amazing is that? Well, it's a wonderful thing. These are people who probably, you know, because these are people who are there, you know, near the areas, you know, they're in Poland, or, you know, they're in neighboring countries. So they are also, it's very reasonable to think they might be a threat too. But instead of just responding to that possible threat, say, don't come here, Putin might get mad. You know, they're opening their arms and staying connected and understanding that this is a tough time and maybe they can be of help. How can we be of help? How can we stay connected to this situation and not just treat it as something that's happening somewhere far away? Contributions. So we can help the flow of money that goes to buy the supplies, blah, blah, blah. What else can we do? Yep.
Gratitude for our current situation.
Have gratitude that, oh, you know, so glad we're not in it. You might, I don't know, if you have a political opinion, you might write to the UN or NATO or President Biden or whoever, you know, the powers that be, and say, yes, please, you know. On the way here, I was thinking about how, you know, first of all, I can really improve my driving skills to use less gas, because gasoline is part of the way we're trying to impact the decision makers in the world, you know, and not complain about the price of gas. And recognize that, man, I'm glad I don't live in California where it's $6 a gallon, you know. So it's just this kind of recognizing that we're all in this, even if we think we're not in it at all. or we just get mad. Why can't they come up with something else other than raising our fuel prices? That they who keep making decisions that make us miserable. So, they don't exist. We exist. We're all a we. And the more we can kind of view the world from the lens of we, the more we can accept what's happening. Because it's not an us or them, you or me kind of dynamic. So how can this help us with inner happiness? Okay, I won't just jump it there. Okay. Okay, so I want you to take a few moments to think about either earlier today or right now in this class or yesterday, some moment when something went wrong or something went exceptionally right, either way, either extreme. And try to recall what was going on in your mind. What kind of thoughts did you have in response to that moment? It could be a tiny moment, or it can be a, bigger moment, whatever. Just take a moment to kind of review your morning or yesterday or last week or whatever, and just try to go back to that moment and think about what you might have been thinking when it happened. Do the instructions make sense? Okay. Does anybody have one? Have a situation? Everybody find one? Okay. Anybody can remember what they were thinking at the time? You don't have to reveal specifics, just sort of like, what was the trend? Yes, go ahead.
I live in a condo, as any of you do, the dynamic is quite lively. And there appears to be an individual in this condo who really knows how to stir the pot, So in the moment yesterday, I was anticipating that this individual was about to attack another individual.
So nothing's happened yet, but you're in the presence of someone who you have, that you have assessed looks like someone who likes to stir things up. Okay.
So first of all, you're right. Nothing had happened, but I was anticipating.
So you've already got a mind state, right? You're already anticipating something not going to go well. Okay.
No, just thinking about it is when I realized what I had done. So, but I think anticipation is, I had a mindset there.
Right. We're already looking for it. So that's one habit some of us have that are really good at it. We're kind of like looking for what can possibly go wrong in this moment. We may be more on guard with certain people, So that's something to recognize. What else? What else did people find? Anybody at home? Hi, Lisa. They're not raising their hands, so.
I guess when I look back at my thing, sitting here, ruminating about what happened, as soon as I thought about anticipation, I thought probably what you would have said to me was, whoa, right there, you have two courses. You can either train not to anticipate, or if you're going to anticipate, then try to think of a positive way to turn it.
Okay, so now we're providing solutions. I'm not ready for them yet, but that's good. It's good that when we look back, this is one of the usefulness of reflecting back on something that is different from ruminating. If you reflect back and think, what could I have done differently? Perhaps instead of anticipating something negative, I could have reframed it into, or started a conversation of my own that would have changed the energy in that moment. Anybody else come up with something?
Okay, so I have a positive.
Okay,
We recently, we have a condo in Florida, we're from New York. And we are a balcony, you can see the sun set.
Right.
Every day. And one of the things I've been doing, no matter what, is taking a minute to watch the sunset and kind of say goodbye to the sun every night because there's a sunset.
it's lovely.
And it just, just be in that space, just whatever else is going on, and just watch the sunset.
So taking a moment to really experience the joys we have, because we like sunsets. So giving ourselves a moment to look at something, to experience it and allow ourselves the time to do that, and to do it regularly is a really healthy thing to do. I used to do that too. I'm not at the sunset side. I'm on the sunrise side. And I can't say I see that very often. I do now that daylight savings time, because it's a little later. But so yesterday I was sitting there, getting ready to, I was preparing for this class, and I was picking up yet a different book, So I was, and all of a sudden, the people beneath me were pulled out the drill, and they were drilling something, which happens a lot. I don't know about you, but condos, people renovate and, or they sell and buy and renovate, So anyway, I've been living above someone who has been renovating for about a year, I guess, but it's not all the time. You have no idea what is going to happen because they're, I don't think they live here yet. Maybe they just moved in. But anyway, so I'm sitting there and my thought goes, of course, really it's Saturday, it's Saturday evening and people have just come back from the pool, all the people that hang out outside, they just come in and now you pull out your drill. I guess they were at the pool too. So, and it's really hilarious if, when you're looking and you realize I'm making myself miserable now. Like, because does my grousing or grouchiness about it do anything? I considered stomping my feet on the ground, hoping that might send, really, if you're going to make noise, I'm going to make noise too. Yes.
It's almost like how you decide to direct your thoughts to make you happy or miserable.
Exactly. So the way we think really affects our happiness or our suffering. And so, we have to practice it though. First, we have to see that maybe there's something we can do to reduce our suffering ourselves with nothing changing out here. And the main thing we can do is help our minds handle it. Recognize what habits of mind we have that aren't helpful. Taking care of ourselves in that moment instead of directing it outward in blame, for example. I'm blaming this person, for disturbing my peace of mind. Guess what? Nobody can disturb our peace of mind except us. There are circumstances that make it a little more difficult. but only if we attend to those. You know, so if which I did, you know, it didn't last long. I was able to get my act together. But, you know, you attend to that irritation and you keep going there. I can't be happy now. I can't be at peace now. I can't read now. How am I supposed to concentrate? Da, 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 da. You know, you can do that, or you can let it go. If you're not going to change it, like go outside, I could have gone somewhere else, of course. You know, you're not going to go downstairs and say, could you not? I have done this because, you know, when we're all on Zoom classes all the time, I have gone downstairs and said, can you hold off for an hour because I'm on a Zoom class, you know. But it's, you know, if we can't change it, you know, the thing we can do is not make it a big deal. And that's recognizing that we actually many times are able to function in uncomfortable situations. So this is a little thing, you know, there's no big deal thing. But the reality is, if we look back on our life, we will see example after example after example of circumstances that made us feel vulnerable or powerless, however we want to look at it. And we handled it without rage, you know, without making it worse. So it's something we have a skill set for. We may just need to practice it more. You know, it's like we might always rise to the occasion of some big crisis, you know, where we, you know, we accept that, oh, you know, this is not the time. You know, like when my mother was diagnosed with cancer, it was like, okay, this is not the time to go over all the mistakes she made as a mother. You know, it's just, yeah, and you just set them aside. And you recognize, oh, if I spend all my time on that, I'm going to miss the time I have left. So we sometimes just you know, we're able to just set aside things to be there to get what we can that's positive out of the situation. And we just need to recognize these little moments are worth saving for ourselves too. That all the moments that we spend annoyed, irritated, angry, you know, feeling vulnerable and feeling like we have to disconnect from people harm us. It's what adds, you know, layers of stress to our lives. Where we give up on people, just get disgusted, or how can somebody do that? You know, whatever it is we do, we turn off the news. I can't watch the news. People are, you know, it's too terrible. Well, that helps. It doesn't help. That ability, I mean, we might need to, you know, moderate our exposure to things, but really, it's about able to keep our hearts open. And sometimes we turn off the news to keep our heart open, you know. Am I making sense at all? The wonderful thing that we have is this ability to connect with each other. This is how we have compassion. This is how we have love. You know, we have this ability to connect in the moment with others and feel joy, feel sadness, you know, feel that strong desire to be able to alleviate someone's suffering. You know, that's a wonderful quality. That's our Buddha nature. That's the mind that goes to enlightenment. No, it's not the angry mind. Not the, ooh, what about me mind? It's that part that actually can make us really be aware of our vulnerability. You know, it's that, you know, It's understanding that that is what can bring us to ultimate happiness, where there's no sorrow at all, is being able to stay vulnerable, stay open, have that tender heart. That actually protects us. It's not something that has to be contained. So what are our obstacles to that? You know, we're talking about vulnerability. How thrilled are we about being vulnerable? It's like really fun. And so think about what comes up for you when you just think about being vulnerable. Hmm? Unsafe. Okay. Hernan?
In a way, if you can bear that moment, it's a precious moment because that moment is showing you all your weakness that you have to work on.
Okay, so you find that vulnerability shows weakness that we can work on. We can fix this. That's an interesting, I find that interesting.
Comes up that I have to work on what disturbs me.
Right.
Why
What disturbs
why
me?
Why does it disturb me? And what do I have to do to be peaceful?
You can make noise. Let's see. So does anybody else feel unsafe?
I guess a fear of judgment
A fear of judgment from others.
from others. Yeah, you expose yourself.
They'll see us as weak. Yep.
Just fear in general. I mean, be fearful when you're vulnerable.
Yeah, it's not pleasant to feel unsafe. So why do we think that not being vulnerable makes us safe? Is it ever possible not to be vulnerable?
Well, there are different levels of vulnerability.
Absolutely. There are different levels of vulnerability.
There are certain situations when you can be vulnerable and hurt. So you avoid that type of vulnerability so that you don't get hurt.
Is it possible to prevent ourselves from getting hurt? Like you're bringing up the situational, that sometimes we can learn that certain situations hurt us and we can avoid them. Sure, I'm not going to run a marathon. But can we prevent ourselves from being hurt? No. Yes, Lisa.
Hi, but is it really avoidable? Are we really avoiding being vulnerable, or is it maybe coming out in another area where surrendering to not being hurt sometimes, but that could cause other misfortunes?
Right. So Lisa's saying to me, but are we really able to prevent being hurt or prevent being invulnerable?
I think you had just mentioned, can we really prevent being vulnerable by not running, by avoiding not doing a marathon or something? But it can bring out other things in our life that we failed or we didn't do it. So ultimately, is it really doing any good?
Right. So it's sort of like a choice of risk, right? So like, yeah, we might avoid this risk, but we can't avoid all risk, right? And we all know in somewhere, and we don't like it, but we know that getting out of bed in the morning, we've put ourselves at greater risk of dying. Because we get out and we get, we take a, as soon as you walk out of your house, there's danger in being a pedestrian. There's a danger in driving a car. There's a danger in, I don't know. Have you ever eaten some food and you're starting to choke on it, So the food we eat is dangerous. You see a friend and realize later they were sick. We all know that feeling these days, We may not live past the next second. That's just a fact. So we choose to live anyway, because the truth of the matter is we can die in that bed. We can never get out of bed. And then, of course, we're taking the risk of not taking care of the body and not taking it, and so we're accelerating. If we're going to die of old age, we're accelerating that process if we don't take care of the body. So there's literally nothing we can do to prevent the vulnerability of the body. We're not even born with the kind of weapons that a tiger is, or a grizzly bear. We're kind of excessively vulnerable, are we? We don't have claws. We can't fly away. If I flew away, I'd probably hit the, cell tower. So the solution isn't to avoid vulnerability. There might be situational times that we'll choose, I'm not going there. I don't want to, what is it like? I don't want to jump out of a plane. Might be fun, but no, thank you. I don't want that moment where you realize, oh, the chute is not going to open and I'm going to die for this stupid reason. That's the moment I'm afraid of. It's not the death moment. I can't do anything about that. It's that feeling of, this was stupid. I don't like feeling stupid, so, I try to avoid that. Doesn't work because I continue to be stupid and, things happen all the time. We cannot protect ourselves by thinking that, oh, I can make my body perfectly safe. I can make my heart perfectly safe by not giving it to others. I can, it's just not true. When we've just been hurt emotionally on a mental level, we might need to, step out of the fray to heal the loss, to accept that things have changed. But as someone who's stepped out of that fray for a long time now, trust me, it doesn't protect your heart. There's still loss. There's still, sadness. There's still decisions that have to be made of change. So it's not, there's just no protection. So what the Buddha said is that the best protection is to increase your good heart, to love more, to cherish more, to give more. So when you think of all the moments of your life that you've allowed yourself to take a risk with others, make a connection with others, and all the ones that failed, That didn't go so well, versus all the ones that were successful. Which would you trade? Not feeling the way you felt when it didn't go well for the absence of all the times it did? Most of us wouldn't. We accept that grief is a product of having cared and that it's worth the exchange. So it's more about, okay, how can I accept these gifts? Because one of the things that comes from vulnerability is that we need others. We need help all the time. I mean, I can't believe people ever were at a place where they were pioneers and came and, oh, let's cut a few trees and build a house. Cut the tree. Even that step is sort of like, how did they come up with this? The reality is we need people. We need each other. We need animals. We need insects. We need the climate to be, supportive of plants and animals and life. So we can either make that good news or bad news. We have a society that kind of leans towards independence. It's better to be independent. Now, that's not wrong. There's no, because it all depends on what you mean by independent. If we see vulnerability as a weakness, and I'm not picking on you, I promise, we need to understand that vulnerability is actually a door that opens to others. When our fear comes up that says, I don't want to have a stupid death. I'm not taking this risk because it'll look stupid when I get killed. That pride can interfere with connecting with others. I don't want to connect unless I know they're receptive. They have to go first. That kind of rule. It's this recognizing that there are certain types of states of mind that arise that interfere with our ability to connect. And so we want to start noticing what our mind's like, what our heart's like in the moment that we start to shut a door. What's going on in my mind? Is it pride because I just don't want to, I'm not going to do that because, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'll look stupid. That's one of my favorites, Or I don't want to help you because I don't particularly like you, Or it's inconvenient. How many of us are really willing to help someone else when it's easy? Oh yeah, I'm going that way. I'm passing right by your neighborhood. I'm happy to give you a ride home. What? That's 20 minutes out of my way. I'm not so sure I really want to do that. Yeah. So we want to just look at what our habits are. Are we into, is it pride that is interfering with inner happiness, inner acceptance? Oh, this is going on because I don't know what I'm doing and I need some help. Or this is going on because someone else needs something. It's not about me at all. And I want them to, what about me? Or greed, which sometimes is the what about me is a mind of greed. So we want to find those clues to what's interrupting that heart of tenderness, of openness to being there for someone else, being there for ourselves. Oftentimes we cut ourselves off because we don't either know how to ask for help, don't like the feeling of having to ask for help, are afraid of no one helping. Because that's one of the risks we take when we ask for help, is that nobody says yes. So we want to start looking at our habits, because they're interfering with our inner peace. They might be, not always, but it's like, perhaps you are fixed to your schedule. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that, because, you've got in your mind some unfolding of your day. And so you miss an opportunity to connect with someone because it's going to mess up your schedule. And there are all sorts of reasons we have, we want to look, is the reason at the end of the day I'm not feeling very full because I didn't allow myself any moments of connection? I know that there are times when I, like on the way here, I turned the radio off on my car because they were talking about Putin. And I thought, I don't need that right now. I'm on my way to teach this class, and, I'll get hooked, and that will be all that's in my mind. Plus it's easier to drive if you're not listening to something that distracts you. So we have to protect ourselves situationally if it's not, not a good time. It's like, I don't recommend meditating in your car while you're driving. Not a good thing. So this week, really think about, notice when you're shutting the door, and just notice what's coming up for you in that moment. What habit? Just to notice, not to judge, and not to, tell you to not do it. You just notice what it is. And that, even being able to recognize, oh, I just shut a door. I just closed myself off to this other person or to this other situation, And what's that about? Oh, I can't deal with that right now. Maybe, that's okay. So but we want to look to see if there might be any ways we're actually undermining our ability to have this inner confidence, inner peace, inner acceptance of what's going on around us, because our resistance to what's actually happening to us and in our world just increases that agitation, that sense of stress, that sense of vulnerability that we can't do anything, when there might be something we can do. What thoughts are coming up? Mm-hmm.
Sharing that state of vulnerability can be a source of shared community, but it could also be a source of courage, and some sense of bravery, point for change, or just to acknowledge our human suffering state with others.
Yeah, it's courageous. This is, like, I think one of the titles of the book that Teaching Children and His Holiness's series of books is Courageous Compassion. Being able to have that moment of shared vulnerability, to say, oh, I feel that. That understanding. And it doesn't have to be spoken. We don't even have to let someone else in on it, It's more, it's like the more we can just even stay open to our experience of it, because we may have that experience in the middle of a business meeting. And, it's just like you realize, oh, the presenter is really scared right now. And you know what that feels like. And you just have this moment of connection, where instead of just criticizing their presentation or their ideas or whatever in your head, you have a moment where you can really understand that vulnerability that they're experiencing. So that's not something we might share in the moment or even afterwards, it's just, it helps us stay open to what's happening in the other living beings around us, what's happening inside ourselves. And we can respond differently when we've made that connection. It's like the way we respond to our friends is very different than the way we respond to strangers or coworkers, It's so we want to look at that. Are we making unnecessary barriers and divisions when our lives would feel much more satisfying if we, let everybody in? And it is courageous because it is scary to feel vulnerable. And it is scary to watch someone else who's vulnerable, and not be able to fix it for them. Everybody who's been a parent knows this, that they're, sometimes you just have to be with that vulnerability. And we don't like how it feels for ourselves. So there's, we have this natural tendency to kind of go, okay, I'm not going to feel it with you either, kind of thing. But we're making a mistake when we do that. That's getting in the way of our ability to cherish others, getting in the way of our, ability, because this is the wonderful thing about being a sentient being, having a heart, having this mind, being able to, this fact that we can throw it open and actually experience something with someone when you have the shared sunset, or two people have, you all of a sudden a song comes on and everybody in the, with you kind of goes, whew, that's a good song, that shared moment of experience. And the more we keep our door closed, the less we can experience that. But developing, in order to be courageous, to be brave, we need to have a sense of doability, confidence. So one of the things we want to recognize is we've had many, many, many challenges, moments of difficulty throughout our lives, and we made it through. Many moments where you thought, I'm never going to handle this. I'm going to lose my mind, but we didn't. So we want to, remember that just because something's hard or scary or familiar doesn't mean it's not worth trying. Should we go back to just feeling peace in this moment? So just take a moment to just, I'm sitting here. My body's not in some, great pain, or it might be, and I have to take care of that. I'm still getting oxygen. This is good. I still have loved ones. My senses are working. And wouldn't it be lovely if all beings had that freedom of this moment of not being oppressed or threatened or starving, trying to avoid a fire or a flood. And have some joy in your competence. You know, in all the things you're able to do. The fact that we survived into adulthood is proof of that. It's also proof of all the beings who've helped us, that we've gotten a lot of help. And how wonderful that is. You know, it's sort of like one of the reasons that we can ignore the fact that we're impermanent, you know, that this body will end, is the fact that we're not under threat. You know, people, when they're living in a war zone, you know, are very aware that any moment. So when you think about all the beings that are not in a war zone, you know, the fact that we're not living under the ocean, trying to keep ourselves away from the, you know, whale or the, you know, shark or whatever just consumes fish, you know. You know, this is part of our good fortune. So we want to make good use of it. You know? And the good use of it isn't just, you know, chasing after physical delights, or it's the way that we can help each other. Have safety, have food, have shelter, all those things. And share those moments, you know, of vulnerability, so people know that they're not alone, because we're not alone. Go ahead.
I read a post this week about the person that started asking kids what they think what love was, and some wonderful answers came up. And the last one on the post is one that Mark more, and it's all about this shared vulnerability. That it says that the mom sees her son goes to the next room neighbor porch, and the neighbor was crying. He was crying. The neighbor was crying, and the kid goes there and sits on the neighbor's lap for a little, but the mother doesn't know what's happening. And then when the son comes back, she asks him, what did he go there to do? And he says, the neighbor lost his wife, and I saw him crying, and I went there to help him cry.
Children are wonderful with this skill. So Hernan was just sharing a story about a child who noticed that his neighbor was crying. So he went over to his neighbor and sat on his lap to help him cry. You know, to be there with the sadness. This connection with children, I think, is one of the best. If you feel disconnected, watch stupid Instagrams with babies and children and small children, and the way they help each other and the way they give to each other, because we have this quality too. And it's a wonderful quality. It's not something we need to guard against. This ability to be there comes naturally to us. In Buddhism, we say it's the proof of our Buddha nature, our Buddha potential. We just want to expand it. We qualify it all the time. We box it in.
Dogs are very good at that.
Dogs are also very good at domestic pets anyway.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely. And not all of them are good at it. But those who are good at it was probably practicing it in a previous life, just to throw in some Buddhist stuff there. So you don't have to take it or leave it. So, this is the thing. So we have this ability. So we want to learn how to be okay with sharing it and understanding. I had a moment when I went to visit my family for some holiday or whatever. And I've always had sort of a strained relationship with my dad, like many people, and we're sitting in their little den. And all of a sudden I realized my dad is really nervous about talking to me. I was already a nun. Trust me, that's not easy on the parents at all, But that moment of realizing he's afraid, he is exhibiting what I do when I'm nervous, and it changed really everything for me. It was so much easier for me to be in his presence without judging him, without feeling like, it was some sort of battle of wills. So it just, you don't know when we keep the door open, what's going to happen with it. Anything is possible. So it's really these moments, so when you have a moment when, like sometimes it happens just randomly, you're in a grocery store or something and some child runs up to you, and there's these, and they're really present, and it's a wonderful moment to experience. So we want to take up these opportunities. We want to be aware how we close the door to them and try to start looking for that so that we can maybe break through that habit of closing the door. Doesn't mean we just don't protect ourselves at all or something. It's just recognizing some of our habits are defeating us in the sense of we have an opportunity to increase our sense of well-being, our sense of feeling part of a community, when we keep closing the door to these moments. Does that make sense? Oh gosh, it's time. I always check the time at some point and think, oh, okay. And then okay. So any burning last moment comment? I'm looking at you. And when
I had I had an experience on Wednesday that I decided to reach out and invite my neighbors, one from China, Chile, Iowa, and as Peruvians. When I sent the text, I was like, please say no, because I was like, and they said yes. We had such a great time that we already have a date. We have so much in common. I mean, the only difference is the accent. We all had different accents. But I was like, wow, but to be honest, I was like, why did I do this? And like dreading it. And we had such a great time.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay that it was scary. It's not that we have to turn off the fear. It's that we have to ignore it and take the risk, take the gamble. It isn't about, just not worrying. It's now not letting the worry stop us. It takes a long time for the worry to become less of a habit, to where you can go, oh yeah, I don't know these people, but hey, it's worked out in the past. And if they say no, no loss. No, I mean, there's just, okay. You wouldn't want them to say yes and not want to, but I bet you anything, they also said yes, and then they thought, why did I say yes to that? Because this is a shared thing. We feel vulnerable. We want to be liked. We want to belong, this is what we do. So it's really, it's a very, we don't have to be something else to keep our hearts open. We can be who we are. Not everybody will accept us. That's okay. We're not going to accept everybody either, But it's just, making that connection. And given the right circumstances, we can probably connect with everyone. It's just we don't always have those circumstances. We don't meet most of the world. So, okay. All right, I'll shut up now. Okay, so we can say, so what we do at the end, we want to dedicate any positive thing that we may have thought, done, said in this time together, any kind of understanding that we may have arise or what might arise later, whatever goodness, that we had in our hearts, our actions, produces the cause for happiness in the future. And so we want to dedicate that happiness, that future happiness, to others. We want to do it on their behalf. So in the prayer book, here's my prayer book. On page 244?
If we're going straight to the long life prayers, yes, 240.
Do you want me to go straight to the long life prayers? Do we not want to do the dedication? I mean, I don't know your time.
Santa Davis is good. We can do Santa Davis.
Okay.
246.
46.
Page 246 in the prayer book.
So this is just our wishes for what we want our good deeds to ripen as in the future. So may all beings everywhere plagued by sufferings of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of our merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or never fall ill. May no be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down with depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And then on page 244, I think, is that correct?
Yes, 244.
So this is now we just are praying for the long, healthy, happy lives of our teachers, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Lama Zopa Rinpoche. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig, Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjana's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. So I'll be here next week. I think I do the meditation too.
Yes, you do.
I do the meditation next week too. So 10:15, 11 o'clock for the class. If you're out with family for Easter, is it Easter next
Yes.
week? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Make it a pleasant time. work hard at keeping that heart open. So anyway, but, and we'll be rejoicing in the bodhisattva activity of Christ also, so you can't have a more giving for others action. So, okay. Any other
Yes,
announcements?
and thank you, Venerable Tenor. It's great to have you here and looking forward to next week. And also we will have a memorial service for Lamo, Cheryl Wagner, next Saturday here at 1 o'clock. For anyone who knew Lamo, please join us for that for an hour. And then afterwards, we will have a Medicine Buddha Puja here in person at 2 p.m. next Saturday, the 16th. Also, we have online courses, with Venerable Sanghi Kadra on Tuesday night going on.
Definitely check her out. She's been a nun for quite a long time, since the 70s. She's the one who wrote How to Meditate, the book. And she's just lovely. So
Yeah, and she's teaching on the book that we have out at the front desk, Awakening the
the
Kind,
kind heart. Yeah.
And we also have Venerable Rubina coming soon.
So be prepared for a downpour of Dharma.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And I know there was more. What else? Oh, we're always looking for volunteers too. And we have a new.
We need
post
tech
on our
volunteers.
website. And thank you all for your donations to keep the center going. There's
Yes.
Many costs that, are needed. So thank you, thank you. Thank you all to Zoom. And,
Lisa, yeah.
oh, yes, and next Sunday, we're having, if you don't have plans for Easter and you want to have a community gathering, bring lunch and we can eat together here. Okay?
And there's also a park really close by.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if it's nice and cool, because
Yeah.
I'm picky. Anyway, Lisa, did you have a question?
I do, sorry. So are some of the meetings now only in person? Because today was a little bit of a struggle trying to find the remote link. And I noticed
Yeah, they had trouble with the meditation, I think. So
Yeah, no, we don't offer the meditations will only be in person. That's really the only thing in person because, as you can see, we are struggling with the hybrid, doing both. So,
I'll do it on Zoom. Don't worry.
I noticed some classes with Venerable Rubina said in person only. Is that still?
That might be true for records.
yes, yeah, I mean, for anything, for the longer days with Venerable Rubina will not be on Zoom. Those will be in person too. And we are encouraging registration because we are going to be limited with our number of people in the Gampa. But only for long days or afternoons when we don't have people for IT support. Okay. I
Okay,
hope that
thank you.
helps. Thank you.
Okay. We're good?
We're good.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Peggy, for the one that matches.